week 22 of our daily Bible devotions. We are now studying the book of Romans. In fact, you've been studying it for the past 2 days, and you have seen the Bible Project overviews about Romans. And to put it into context, you have to remember that first, Romans is the sixth book in the New Testament after Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, after the Gospels, the Gospel books about Jesus. And then the fifth book is about Acts, that when Jesus ascended to heaven, he left the commission to his disciples. And then, before he ascended, he sent the Holy Spirit. And Acts chapter 2, it was the Pentecost. That's the important thing, because even though Jesus already commissioned his apostles and his disciples, they were not able to do anything until they received the Holy Spirit. That was during the Pentecost. And then last week, I don't know if you've seen the video, but if you haven't, just check it out. On day 4 last week, we discussed that we cannot study the book of Acts unless we pay attention to the story of Paul, how Jesus Christ reached out to him, who is not an original member of the 12 disciples, 12 apostles, who is not someone who's part of the inner circle. In fact, he is someone who persecutes Christians. But then Jesus Christ showed himself to Saul. He changed his name into Paul, and then made him an apostle to the Gentiles. And the rest of Acts is about Paul going to different places and preaching this gospel to the Gentiles, to the outsiders, outside Israel. He went beyond. And then towards the latter part of Acts, it's about his preparation to go to Rome. Read that story, it's very interesting. Point is, Paul wanted to go to Rome because Paul knows that Rome is a strategic place. Rome is seen by Roman soldiers, even emperors, as the light. In a dark world, for them, Rome is the light. Now, Paul, he wants to go to Rome. It's a very strategic place. Israel, Judea was under the Roman Empire. Rome is the center. It's a very strategic place to preach the gospel. And what is that gospel? What is that good news? That Rome is not the light, but Jesus is the light of the world. And in this movie that I've seen, there's a conversation between the Emperor Marcus Aurelius and the General Maximus. In that conversation, in the movie, Marcus Aurelius asked Maximus, "What is Rome?" And true enough, the general, the soldier, said that Rome is the light. There's darkness in the world and Rome is the light. And Marcus Aurelius said, Rome is the light, but you've never been there. You've never seen it. You've never seen what it has become. You've never seen the corruption, how it's rotten already. And that is true. Sometimes we lift up something, we idolize something, we put it in the pedestal as if it is invulnerable to any mistake or to any error, only to find out that it's not what we think it is. Sometimes we have this idolized version of our family, idolized version of an institution, idolized version of a man or a leader. And when we find out that this person, this institution, this organization, that our family, when we find out that they make mistakes, we are frustrated, we are disappointed, because they failed to meet our expectation. Our expectation is that they're perfect, that they're invulnerable. But that's not true. Paul labored to explain this in the first chapters of Romans. He said, all have sinned in chapter 3. He in fact explained in chapter 1 to 2 how depraved mankind's situation is. It tells us that we need help. We need saving. You don't have to stay in religion. Go to the history books. Read history. Look back at the history of mankind. We are depraved. We are hopeless beyond salvation if we will not look at what God is offering through Jesus Christ. And that's why the gospel is good news. Gospel, according to Paul, is God's power for salvation. Because we need salvation. And what is that salvation? What is that good news that we need? That Jesus is God's righteousness. When we talk about righteousness, it means absence or erasure of any wrong. It means any wrongdoing, any error in us will be deleted, will be erased, will be covered by the righteousness of Jesus Christ. That's good news. Because we all need it. And That leads us to the principle that I want to focus on. Jesus is God's righteousness revealed to us, offered to us, and to be received by us. Again, Jesus is God's righteousness revealed to us, offered to us, and to be received by us. Why is that important? Because even if you've been given a pardon, even if you've been forgiven, if you do not receive that, it's going to be pointless. I'm going to tell you the story of George Wilson. There's this man, a convict, a prisoner, named George Wilson. It happened in 1833. He's a death row inmate. He was about to be hanged, sentenced to death. But because of his connections, George Wilson was given a pardon. Not just any pardon, but he was given a presidential pardon. He will not die anymore. Here's the catch. George Wilson did not accept the pardon. What? Why? And so the politicians, they're stunted. They don't know what to do, what to make of this. This man has been given the pardon. He can be released, but he did not accept it. What will you do now? Will you still kill him? Or will you release him because he already has the pardon? And then, after careful studying, the U.S. Supreme Court decided that even though the person has been offered the pardon, if he did not accept it, if he refused to accept it, then the government has no power to force him to accept it. That means it will not be in effect. So therefore, George Wilson was hanged and he died. Same thing for us. We are all sinful. We are all sinners. Me and you, all of us. Mankind is hopeless, but Jesus Christ offers hope by being the righteousness that can cover the unrighteousness, the mistakes, the errors, the sins that we have. That pardon, that grace has been offered to us, but will be accepted. If we will not accept it, it will not be in effect. The pardon has been offered to you. Think about it. Will you accept it?